On May 13th, 2002, at about 7 in the evening, I received a radio call from dispatch concerning a man that was down and deceased at a hog farm to the west of Rapelje. I didn't know what I was going into. I didn't know if it was going to be a crime scene. My arrival on scene was at about 7:20 in the evening. It was still light outside, although it was beginning to become twilight. There was a man down on the porch. I got out of my patrol car, scanning the area. As I got close to him, it was apparent to me that he was dead. There was a large blood trail flowing from his head, and I could see blood settling in his lower extremities. I didn't think that he had been down and deceased for a terribly long time. One of his feet was hooked into the screen door, and the front door to the house was open. I noticed that there were what appeared to be 3 spent .38 caliber shell casings on the ground near his head. I believed this incident to have been a homicide. As I entered the home, I was extremely concerned because I didn't know what I was going to find. I had my duty weapon out. I cleared the house quickly, scanning through the home. On the stove was a pan of hot dogs and beans cooking. My initial impression was that there was too much food in that pan for one person to eat. That indicated to me that possibly he was going to have some company. I came out of the residence and quickly checked several hog buildings. There was nobody in the area. Don and Court Herzog arrived, and they owned the ranch and that residence. I learned that the man that was down and dead, his name was Daniel Lavigne. He was a hog farm employee, and he lived in that residence that he was laying in front of. After I had cleared the house and the hog pens that were near the home, I radioed in for help from other officers. Sherry Westbrook, who was the person who had made the original 911 call, returned to the crime scene. With her was a man named Richard Edwards. I spoke to Sherry, but she was extremely hyperventilating, and she was literally freaking out. I spoke with Richard, and I told him that I would get up with him the next day for interviews of both he and Sherry.
The next morning, Sergeant Clonch goes out to interview Sherry, the 911 caller, and her boyfriend Richard at the Herzog hog farm. They're employees who live in a company house.
Were you ever alone together at all?
I always was taking care of the baby pig.
Do you feel that Dan ever came on to you sexually at all? Did he ever make a pass at you?
Not that I could tell.
Not that you could tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
I took her at her word.
Daniel Lavigne's autopsy is conducted in the nearby city of Billings, Montana.
The forensic examiner's report came back and stated that Lavigne had been killed by a single gunshot wound to the head. The shot had been fired from between 18 to 24 inches away from Lavigne's head. That would indicate that Lavigne had known the person who had shot him.
With resources stretched thin, in a county of 1,800 square miles, Sheriff Brophy requests support from the Montana Criminal Investigations Division. Veteran agent Len Knutson is assigned to the Stillwater team.
Knutson arrived on the 15th of May, I believe, and I was assigned to partner with him. I thought that was a very good idea.
Sergeant Clonch and his new partner go out to speak to Sherry, the 911 caller, and Richard, her boyfriend, a few weeks later.
On arriving there, we learned that Richard and Sherry had quit their jobs and left the area.
We were very concerned and frustrated. Are we missing something? Why are they leaving? Is it a legitimate reason, or is it something else?
We were going to have to run them down, find their location.
After months of searching, and with the couple still missing, the case of the man of faith found dead on his porch cools like the Montana winds in a sudden snowstorm.
Down the road a few years, on July 10th of 2008, I spoke to a Missouri probation and parole officer about Richard Edwards, that Richard had transferred his residency to Texas. That kind of surprised me. Sherry Edwards appeared to still be living in the Licking, Missouri area. When I found out, I thought it's possible for us to go and re-interview Sherry again. Many people are victimized by their spouses. I thought that Sherry was probably totally intimidated by Richard and had been bullied and browbeaten.
April 21st of 2009, Woody and Agent Knutson made a second trip to Missouri to make contact with Sherry.
I didn't know how Sherry was going to react. All you can do in that situation is try. Sherry told us that she was an eyewitness to the killing of Daniel Lavigne by Richard Edwards. We had been able to obtain an arrest warrant for deliberate homicide. I needed to locate Richard Edwards.
"4 days after Sherry's interview, police get a surprising stroke of luck.
On April 27, 2009, he was stopped for speeding in Texas by a rookie Texas highway patrolman. The patrolman ran Richard Edwards' vital statistics through dispatch and learned that there was a valid arrest warrant in place for him. Richard Edwards was arrested at that point in time, and his reported comment to the patrolman was, "I thought this was over with." I called and notified the family. Alice Evangelista was elated, and she, if I recall correctly, she said, "I'm glad you got the son of a bitch." Richard Edwards was found guilty of deliberate homicide and guilty of tampering with physical evidence. He was sentenced to 110 years at Montana State Prison. I felt the sentencing was just.
No clear motive for the killing has ever been established, but a chilling explanation has come from Sherry Edwards.
Sherry stated that Richard had told her that he wanted to see what it was like to kill a man. That's foreign to me, and I don't understand it.
Richard Edwards just wanted to see what it was like to murder someone else and ended the life of an individual that just wanted to work and be left alone.